Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our Autodesk Recap in Construction webinar. This is Chad Studer, and I'm going to take you through the presentation using Recap through Revit and Navisworks. Anybody notice the site behind us on the PowerPoint? This is actually SPAR last year in Colorado Springs. They flew a helicopter around the resort, strictly taking photographs. They submitted those photographs, Recap Photo 360, and actually gave back a point cloud. Reality captures came a long ways for construction. Imagine this virtual space that you see here, being able to get any measurement that you want in your Autodesk design software. What about when you design a building? How does it start out? Does it start out on a piece of paper? Does it start out in AutoCAD? Does it start out in Revit? Once you have that building, you have to understand or realize what it's going to sit on. What it sits on is part of reality capture. We have to go out and capture that terrain, and then we have to bring it into our model to make sure that it works. So how do we get that information? What tools do we have to get that? What are traditional methods? What is the best way of doing that, and what can we do with it? Many ways to use reality capture. Why does it matter? Because everything that we build and everything that exists is currently out there is using reality capture. It's the ability to get information and build something with it. So if you think about reality capture, and the term that I'm really hearing a lot about is reality computing now. So you capture the information, but we need to do something with that. So reality computing, we're going to design, we're going to use our construction documents, we're going to take existing information, and we're going to use that and build off of it. This is an actual point cloud that was taken from 3D laser scanning, brought in to Autodesk Revit. Can you imagine you didn't have to visit the site and literally you have a virtual world inside your favorite design tool? How would you traditionally capture this space if you went on site? Would you show up as a project manager and just do a walkthrough and try and remember as much as you could, maybe take some small notes, send somebody back to record every measurement along the ground and get the ceiling heights, maybe critical information? When they come back, would you trust your entire design that they did everything right? Are you counting on 35% change orders because you know you didn't capture existing conditions and you're going to have problems or concerns? You don't have to now. You go out, you scan it, you bring this virtual world right into your computer, and you can get any measurement at any time that you want. Autodesk has made this possible. We have an AutoCAD division, they have a building design division, we have an infrastructure division, a mechanical division. Now they have a reality capture division that's focused on delivering the physical world to be able to compute it, accessible, and make it useful for everyone. So it just started over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and within such a short period, we are now capturing data with all sorts of design tools, 3D scanners. We're using photographs, we're using hand scanners, we're using iPads, sensors, you name it. If you can think about it, we're capturing the information and putting it into the design deliverables. And what tools do we use to do that? Autodesk Recap. Recap allows you to load intelligent 3D data, either from scanners or from photos, billions of points at a time. Recap is a single word. It's kind of confusing to people. Hopefully everybody understands now it's reality capture. But there's multiple versions of Recap that are out there. Whichever one we're working with, and we're going to break these down today for you, but the goal and the ideas are right here. End-to-end workflows. Whatever device you want to use, we're going to capture that no matter how big. What if you have a mobile scanner? Has everybody heard of those? You can drive down the road at highway speeds, literally capture data as you drive, just like LiDAR, and you can bring in, just like that resort or small town. It's unimaginable the information we're gathering and that you can bring in and work with directly into Recap now. The entire portfolio gives you any solution that you're looking for to capture data and deliver it. Once you deliver it or have that inside Recap, there's also a tool that you can publish the data, and you can use it for consultants or subcontractors to go in and collaborate with you using Autodesk 360. To break it down, the first one is Recap. This is issued automatically in the Building Design Suite. If you didn't know it and you already own it, you already installed Recap. Double click the icon, You probably have no idea what you did with it, but now you can understand. You can go out, you can hire someone to do 3D scanning. Maybe you want to rent a scanner. Maybe you want to consult with somebody to go out and capture the data with you. Go out and take pictures. However you want to capture that information, you can load it. Even use a tutorial for right now. Just go open up as soon as this is over. Open up on your desktop, grab a tutorial, and go through the point cloud. Let me show you how easy this is. This is Autodesk Recap. This is a point cloud, millions and millions of points, and I can seamlessly navigate throughout inside here. I can pan and zoom, and you can see how easy it is to review the data. Scans are taken anywhere from a minute, maybe a minute and a half if they're black and white, up to 5 minutes using color. So what are they useful for? What can we do with it? Well, at any time I can pull any distance from any XYZ coordinate that was captured in here. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see that every single point in here has an XYZ coordinate. And as I zoom, you can see each one of those points. And each one of those points is information that we can use to gather the distances. Besides that, let's have a little bit more fun. We can go in here and we can create a limit box. Inside this limit box is pretty easy to navigate. You just drag this down. And we'll go underneath it here and we'll drag this up real quick. Narrow down the data. Let's get it quite a bit closer quickly. There we go. Some of you already saw what I did. I was able to actually rotate this as well. So if you want to go up and down, or depending on which side you grab it, you can rotate it as well. So if you want to go perpendicular to the building, you could do that as well. Once you're done, you can simply confirm this. And you can always go back and modify it again. And what's really cool is you can just drag this and you can literally look directly inside the point cloud. So we can drag it from both directions. We could go this way. I could go underneath it, and we could drag it as well. There's also options in here to change it to grab the inside face or the outside face to fix that or make it a little bit quicker. But now we can launch this back to 2D. Right? And from 2D, I could take this to AutoCAD and I can start drawing directly on top of this. Or I can take it to Revit to draw directly on top of that. So just kind of keep that in mind that you can, the most important thing, and you're going to hear me say it 10, 20 times during this WebEx, is we need to narrow down the data to focus on what's important for this project. Another way to grab or save what I just did is you can create view states. Any limit box, if you like it, you can save it. So I went in here and I quickly made one of just the lobby. I zoomed in, saved it, and now I can return to it at any time. It makes it really easy to collaborate with with our consultants, our design team, if we want to talk about, let's say, just the piping up above. In this case, I could go in and we could window just these pipes to talk about it maybe later on. Simply fence the information that you want. Once it's fenced, I can go in and I could say clip everything outside it. Now the point cloud is focused only on what's important to us on this project. One of the tools inside Recap that everybody forgets about, at any time I can go up here and we can export that information that we're looking at as its own RCS file. So now I can work with it inside of Revit or AutoCAD or any of the design information is available to us, Design Suite. Let's undo that real quick. Just want to point that out, how you can, all the data is so accessible and how easy it is to access. I call this the Google Room. Again, we have a virtual site that we can share at any time. It might be, maybe this project got delayed for 6 months. It doesn't matter because I captured it. I don't have to remember every measurement or what was there or what wasn't there. I can just go back to it without, going to that new location. I call this the Google Room because this is where we can brainstorm, right? We can sit down, we can talk, we can kind of just discuss different things, how we're going to go about this project, what measurements maybe the person that went in there missed, put it on a piece of paper. Would you bet in this room that you could get every single measurement? Would you bet your job on it, or would you want to go back? In here, we can go in and we can pull any measurement that we want. The measurement that's shown here as well, we can go up. If you don't want to use metric, you can go to your options. Show feet and inches to the 1/8, which is kind of cool. If you don't like that measurement, you can also get rid of it. So again, saving your views. A couple other ones that we looked at: the lobby, the Google room. We can even go maybe the plumbing. You want to take a look at the restrooms? I'll spare you actually going inside the bathroom. I think everybody knows what they look like, but we could simply take any measurement that we want, or make sure that we document everything that was inside there before we tear it all out and put it back. You can see the lights up above, you can see the drinking fountains, and you can see the restrooms. Once I go to Navisworks, I'm going to show you this exact same view, or a close area of this model as well. So looking at the viewport, the scan data is great, and the virtual information is available to us, but what else can we do with it? Well, kind of like I was trying to show you a little bit ago, I want to make a floor plan. All I do is take that limit box and I put two together, and now I can export this and take it to AutoCAD and draw on top of it. Maybe I want to take it into Revit and use this as a guide. Make sure I didn't miss any walls. And again, to have a Revit BIM model, I can literally take any existing conditions now, capture with scanning, draw it, and just like a BIM model you would for a new design, I have it for any existing building that I scanned. Alright, this is the most important thing that I'm going to show you today. It's not a perfect example. You need to use your imagination a little bit, but this tool right here can make a big difference during the design phase and how you work with point clouds. We're going to go in, simply select plane. I'm going to change it so it does a little bit thicker depth, and all you do is pick 3 points on a plane, in this case a floor, and the software is going to automatically use an algorithm to find the nearest points and create a plane all the way through this floor. Now I can do segment each little area if I want to. In this case, I want to do it really quickly just to show you the possibilities. Why would I do this, and what good is it, right? Well, what I want to do is go in here now, and I can create a region. Let's call it renovation. Once I have the renovation region completed, or maybe I just want to call it floor, but the idea is this gives us all sorts of possibilities. We can do a couple of things now. I can export just the floor and bring that into Revit or Navisworks to do my new design. Or what I can do is take it a step farther, and we could actually go in and I could create a fence, and I could get rid of all the information that I see on this floor. Whoops, before I do that, let's make one important detail for this region that you created. There's a renovation. Make sure you lock this. Once it's locked, now go over and create your fence. Guess we get rid of the flowers too, whatever we want to, anything on the floor, any interior walls that we want. The idea and the concept of doing this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, if let's say the client, we're going to demolish the entire first floor, we're going to gut it, we're going to put a whole new flooring system in it, and we need to put everything back exactly the way it was. Well, if the client comes back to me and I have little hand sketches and say we measured everything, can I really guarantee that I put it back exactly the way it was and all those measurements were confirmed and accurate? No, they're taking my word for it. If I go back to this virtual model, I can go back and show them every single wall and every single placement of every object they had from this virtual space that was captured. But we can take it a step farther. We could take the whole first floor, and we can go in here now, and for this region, let's just call this one furniture. Well, maybe this is steel, maybe it's MEP, maybe it's HVAC, maybe it's just interior walls. Whatever it is, again, we're using our imagination a little bit here. I don't have time to break it down for everything, but now I can just turn this off. With this information removed, I can pull this into Revit, use maybe just the exterior walls and some of the main foundation walls for the interior, and I can start designing my new renovation or my new workflows, my intent for the design of that new building, to show it to the client. And if they don't like it, I can just go back in and change it. I have a virtual model to do whatever we want with. But this simple little key here makes all that possible throughout the building design workflow design suite. Now, make sure you go in and you export this if you want to preserve the point cloud exactly the way it is now. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pull it into Revit to show you. But if you do this step, you need to export it, save it as a new one, updated, renovated point cloud, however you want to do that. The information's still here. We can go back, turn it on and off at any time as well, which is kind of cool. So hopefully everybody gets the idea of what we can do with Autodesk Recap. The idea, this comes directly with the Building Design Suite. You have the icon on your desktop, and it's seamless and very easy to navigate and work with point clouds. All right, that takes us to Recap Pro. Recap Pro does not come with the Building Design Suite. That is a separate software that is available to you. What that does is allows you to register multiple scans together. There's no way that anybody scan the outside and interior of that entire building with one scan. So as you move with a 3D laser scanner throughout a building or a construction site, how do you put those together? How does scan 1 relate to scan 2? Well, if you look around your room that you're watching this webinar in and take a look, the scanner only does line of sight, so only what it can see from that one location. From that location, you can move around multiple locations and just hit scan, capture the information, move it 20, 30 feet, hit scan again. As long as you have overlapping data, you can put it together, kind of like a puzzle. Each piece from one goes to the other and puts it together. It's called registration. So you can also use survey control to put it on exact locations in the field. So let's talk a little bit more about Recap and Recap Pro. I think we already saw with that building, we have better visualization. It can handle large data sets. Again, that wasn't a large data set. Large data sets is when you go out with LiDAR data or mobile scanning and they're driving down the road at highway speeds and bringing in billions of points at a time. But just in less than a year and a half, the Autodesk Recap team has went from 2013 products to 2014 products. 2013 were great. They worked great. I've used them the entire time. If you used them before that, you got to go back and try it again. But just skip over 2014, go directly to 2015. Just in 1 year, we went from 2 billion points to 20 billion points. Being able to bring that into a data set, small towns, communities, museums, schools, colleges, universities, pretty much whatever you can visualize, you can capture, we can bring into using the Autodesk Recap engine. So the way it used to be, again, I think I forgot to introduce a little bit about myself in the beginning, but I've been using Autodesk products for a little over 25 years, and I've been scanning since 1998 and working with point clouds. When I first started back in 1998, the workflow was, as you can see here, the scan time, you go out and you hit scan and you scan and you scan, but you had to prep the information to make sure you brought it in together so the puzzle would go together. And then you also had a lot of time doing registration. If you take a look at that grid, I had more time registering than I did actually capturing the data. And it should be the other way around. Capturing the information is the most important, and registering it should be less time consuming. This is how we used to do it. We used to go on site, and all we would do is walk the site, and we'd set up these targets all over the place. Strategically setting targets. You can't just put them up everywhere just because you want to. You have to pre-plan and put them where you want because you're going to need about 6 of them in each scan. You need to relate 3 known points with one scan and 3 known points to another scan. Kind of like leapfrogging your scans. So then you acquire this target 1, 2, 3, and you actually number them up to 6. Then you go to another scan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then when you register the data, it would put the 2 together. That's why it took so long to do it. Now, besides the targets and looking at how long that would take to prep and register the information together, just look at this building though. Look at this image. Could you imagine going on site, taking a tape measure or a plumb bob, trying to capture this information? How would you get this? It's almost impossible, but I know a lot of you have done it. I've been in some sites that I didn't want to capture either by hand, and I did the best I could, but when I went back, the project manager was like, "Are you sure that's right? Would you bet your job on it? Do you want to go back and remeasure?" Yes, I'll remeasure. I couldn't get everything. I did what was most important. Well, now a lot of contractors or site owners will actually remove all the ceiling tiles for you, so you can go in and capture all the information, and then we can cut sections through all this information you'll see later and actually work with it, right? You can see the lights, the piping. You can get any measurement that you see right here at any time without even visiting the site if you're a project manager. It's incredible. There are other ways of actually putting the scanner up in the roof and capturing this data without moving the ceiling tiles as well. But back to our focus. The time it takes for pre-planning and doing the registration. Right? A lot of targets. Well, now you no longer have to use the targets. You can simply take your scanner out, hit scan. In a minute and a half, you just captured all the information you can see from line of sight from that single location. Move 20 or 30 feet, hit scan again, and it captures the information. As long as you have overlapping data. In other words, scan a room, put the scanner in the doorway, and scan again, go outside the doorway 20, 30 feet, scan again. We have overlapping data. All we do in 2D view, which you can see in the bottom right, is we pick 2 points on a wall that match, or very similar, they don't have to be exact, and it will automatically use an algorithm from all the information on both point clouds with the overlapping data, and it will register it together. The best part, it's easy. Green says go, it matches. Yellow says, oh, you might want to pick new points or just make sure it looks good. And red says, you picked the wrong points, you were so far off, you better do it again. If you go to 3D, because maybe not everybody's eyes work in 2D as well as they should, you go to 3D and you just match 3 points. You match the exit sign to the exit sign. You match a cabinet to a cabinet, any plane to any plane. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just within a fair amount. Maybe I pick just below the clock. I pick below the clock in the other one. And it gets a green light, says algorithm's good, and you move on. No more targets. Targetless registration. Again, this is an add-on package. You do get Recap for free. The Recap Pro is software that is available to you. All right, so what does that do? Take a look at the acceleration times from the existing solutions to Recap Pro. No pre-planning, hardly any registration time. You can leave the site with the registration complete. A couple of firms that I've worked with and did training with, they will take a scanner and they'll actually run 2 scanners with one person at the same time and have it register together. Don't take my word for it. I've only been scanning since 1998. One of the first, pioneers in the business. Who better to crunch numbers than NASA, right? Who would you believe over NASA? So we're looking at 129 scans a day. Total scanning and registration time from the old method to using Recap Pro went from 4 weeks to 16 weeks. That's incredible, right? 4 times faster. I don't know about you guys. I budget 16 weeks. I use Recap Pro. I'm going to be a very, very good golfer. Maybe not. But either way, I think, NASA did this test. You can see the area that they scanned. It's definitely verified and shows you a very good workflow. So that was very cool. I suggest everybody go out and try this. It is very easy. I also suggest that you do have a professional or consultant maybe go with you the first time. When things are going right, it's super easy, but if something doesn't go perfect, it's nice to have someone to talk to help you out. But picking 3 points isn't easy enough, or matching 2 points in plan view. Autodesk took it a step farther, and they're releasing auto registration. Look at these numbers now. The prep and registration time was 5 times. Now look at that yellow bar. It's hardly any time at all. With Recap Pro, you no longer have to use, with targetless registration, you no longer even have to pick the points. The software that Autodesk released with Recap Pro is going to do it for you automatically. Seriously, all you take is a Windows Surface tablet and you put it on the tripod and you move the scanner around again every 20, 30 feet. And it's going to automatically download the scans to the tablet, and it will take the location, an algorithm to match up the pertinent information with the next scan and automatically register it together. No oohs and ahs for that one. It's going to automatically do it. You don't even have to click any buttons. So imagine just moving this every 30 feet, scan a minute and a half, move it 30 feet, scan, minute and a half, minute and a half, minute and a half, and you're done. It can't get any simpler than this. Well, maybe a little simpler. No, I'm not saying it's simpler. Auto registration is great, but they do have other methods of capturing data besides 3D laser scanners. They have handheld scanners. The point and the goal is as scanners and time and technology, as we go forward, capturing the data is going to get easier and easier and easier. What's important is we have the software that can handle the information coming in, and we can create the construction documents that we need no matter what the tool is. This is an example of how the time is getting quicker and the software is getting better. This is an example of a handheld scanner that allows you to capture within 30 feet the information you see within 10 minutes. I actually have an optical structure sensor. It's about a 3-inch tool by about an inch that actually sits right on my iPad, and I can actually capture data directly from that into my iPad. It's incredible where the technology is going. Capturing the information is not going anywhere. I think everybody's talking about drones and UAVs with video and pictures is incredible. So the Autodesk product line will help with both, right? We got a point cloud viewer. We can work with huge data sets, and we allow the segmentation of breaking it down. We can bring it into AutoCAD or leave it in Recap or Revit to do measurements and manipulation. But what about Recap 360? I mentioned Recap comes with the Building Design Suite. It's already on your desktop. We have Recap Pro now, which is available as an add-on. And you have Recap 360. Using Google Pro, Google Chrome, I can just go out to the website. I can literally take photographs of an object. If you have a 3D laser scanner, take your iPad out today or your Android. I definitely encourage this. Take a picture of your computer, your iPad, your laptop. Literally just take pictures with 40% overlap. Go around it. Start at the bottom, take pictures, go to the middle, take pictures, and then take pictures of the top of it. Upload these photographs, and it will automatically come directly. Take those photographs, upload it to Recap 360, and it would spit back, a mesh or a 3D point cloud that you can open in Recap. It's incredible. Within 2 hours, you should have it back. Don't do anything. It takes a long time. You practice first. Take some simple pictures. Get something back to say that you did it. Imagine going to a plant or going to a wastewater treatment plant or going to a building or a construction site. Anything you see, you take a quick picture of. Not only do you have a 2D picture of that, but you have a 3D object that you can get measurements of to collaborate on. So these are the products that we can work with directly from Recap. So if we want to talk about 3D point clouds or we want to talk about photographs, however we're getting that data or capturing that data, these are the tools that we can use to create those deliverables. Today we're going to jump into Revit, then we're going to jump into Navisworks for the construction side of it. So talking about Revit, I'm just going to switch over real quick here. Literally, this is a point cloud inside Revit 2015. You can pan and zoom, and it seamlessly moves the point cloud directly in Revit. Literally, I have a building sitting inside here, right? This is an existing building. It's not a BIM model. The goal would be, typically using Revit, that I take this information. You don't have to model it. Back in the day, 1990, we model everything. Look what we can do. You don't have to. You can use the point cloud and do your design around the point cloud. Remember how I did in Recap? I just gutted the whole first floor. I can just take this model and I can go in and start drawing new walls or renovations off of these point clouds. If you want to model it, you can do that as well, but you don't have to. The idea is that you want to show the client how easily you capture the data and then show them your design and what you can do conceptually. Then, once you win the bid, we can go in and do our BIM model. What's a couple of tools we can use for this? One of the simplest one is you can use a section box. Hopefully, everybody's used Revit before. Revit, I'm just going to show you some of the basic tools that we use every day in Revit. The only difference is I'm using these tools to work with a point cloud. Section box, everybody uses a section box, right? So we just drag and drop this to show or to hide the data in the point cloud. Guess what? This is exactly the same thing I did in Recap. So again, I'm going to keep beating you up over this. The idea is you have to narrow down the data whenever you work with a point cloud. No matter what, the data we can capture is incredible. You just have to narrow it down to make it useful. A lot of times I'll be working with a client and they'll tell me the point cloud's not accurate enough. There's so many points in here. I don't know exactly which one I should work with. If you think of an existing building, an existing building is an old 1940 building. If you measure along the floor and you gave me measurements, and you tell me that's the most accurate way that you can capture within a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch, and you tell me that's more accurate than a point cloud, I laugh. I understand why beginners or novice people think that. But go measure the top of that 1940 wall in that building. Walls are not perfectly built 90 degrees. So depending on where you do those measurements is only how accurate you are. You can be off. I've seen a half an inch to 6 inches depending on where you're measuring that information at. We have all the design. We have the virtual model. Take any measurement we want. We can cut it at 4 foot. We can cut it at 8 foot. We can cut it at 10 foot. And we can get that measurement for you. Or we can draw directly on top. So this is a 3D section box. Very easy to see in here. Again, I just didn't want to bore you with navigating this to help you see that. I also like going to the site view. From the site view, again, you can narrow down the data that you want to look at. One of the things that I like in the top view is going back to the property box. And there's a view range. Inside the view range, we can start telling this, the program, what's important to us. We just want to draw exterior walls. We want to draw interior walls. In this case, I don't have the interior walls just to make it a little simpler for everybody to understand. But I can go in here and I can change this, and I can tell where to cut the section for every level that I set in here. So I'm going to change this to 10 foot. Maybe I want to change it to 30 feet. Wherever we set this, it's going to show the existing data. And I just go up here and I go to the wall command and I start drawing it. Okay? So typically I'd probably set my guides, and my guides are going to be in my section view. So I can change my level elevations here. But the idea is I create a section. I move my guides to be a level 1 or level 2, wherever you want to set these. So when you go to draw your wall, so typically maybe I drag this one up to here if I want to draw that wall. Again, I'm not going to go through Revit fundamentals, but I think everybody gets the idea. The other big one I wanted to point out is make sure you use the crop tool. So we can go in here and tell it to crop or not crop this information in any viewport. By doing that, it's going to simplify the data. I don't need to see the trees. I don't need to see the rest of the site. We just go in here and simply tell it to turn on or off the cropping tool. Right? Very simple. Draw a box, crop it. Another tool you can use with point clouds. Once we have the sections, we have the guides. Now we can go back to level 1. Zoom in here. Again, the basic fundamentals of Revit. We can go in, say I want to draw a wall. I just want to show you real quick. It will snap to these walls, and we can start drawing. Right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. But basically, if I go to my elevation view, it's drawn from one guide to the other. I drag and drop my doors and windows in the right places for each of the elevations as well. And I have a model from Reality Capture that was brought to me from ScanData. So again, you're looking at the whole model here. So just a reminder, just go in there and crop that data, and you see your guides, and you can see that model, or you can see that wall if you set it right. So very easy tools to manipulate the point cloud or to get the information I need. You don't have to model everything, just model what's important to you. I'm running a little bit out of time here, a little bit behind. So I just want to show you, if I did take a little bit more time to create this model inside Revit, or if I want to concentrate maybe on cross sections, construction documents, you can see the point cloud goes right along with the actual BIM model. See the steel and the foundation, and there's my point cloud as well. Still very seamless to pan and zoom. All the sections, all the simple Revit tools that we're typically using will work. We just happen to have the point cloud in there. We can turn the point cloud on and off at any time once we have it verified or do our verification. Alright, so Revit is a great tool when we take existing conditions and we want to create a model. Maybe you created that model and you just want to compare the two. Back in the day, I used to watch technicians, architects, designers. They would design in Revit, and they'd bring you couldn't even. Well, let me start here. You couldn't even get the point cloud into Revit back in the day. So you would actually open up Revit and you create your model. Then you go to Navisworks and you bring in your point cloud. Then you would link your Revit model into here, and you would compare the walls to make sure you're doing it right, or if they're accurate. Oh, that's 2 feet. You go back to Revit, you move it 2 feet, you open it back up in Navisworks, and then you see if it lined up again. Now it's so much easier. Take the Revit, draw directly on top of the point cloud, but go to Navisworks for collaboration. Go to Navisworks for review. Go to Navisworks to work with subcontractors that maybe it's not supplying a Revit. Maybe they're using an AutoCAD drawing. Maybe they're using a third party. Whatever that is, you can bring in all the different content into one model and review it, create animations. We can animate the point cloud in here. We can do a ton of things. So let's take a look at some of those. This is Navisworks 2015. I have a point cloud already brought into here. Again, I just brought in the exterior. It will show full color just like I did before. I just wanted to break it down a little bit here. Instead of showing full color, I wanted the AutoCAD objects to stand out, or the Revit information to stand out more, and I think that's very important. Each program I've opened so far, I stress breaking it down and only utilizing the data that is important to your project. If I want to look at the steel, I want to show just the steel. If I want to look at the point cloud, just do the point cloud. But the first tool that I think helps with that is turning everything off and turn it on as you need it. One of the other features that we can do is use sectioning. Use the sectioning tools. So this is cut plane 1, alignment top. I can simply go in here and just drag this down, and it will simply cut sections all the way through my point cloud. No oohs and ahs. That's pretty neat too, isn't it? You know what else you can do with your point cloud? This is not a perfect example, but let's say I wanted to do the construction phase. I took the point cloud and we want to use the exterior walls, or in this case, I turn the exterior walls off. I made just interior walls point cloud. I bring just that RCS file in. You can simply go over here, go to animator, we hit record, and we can tell it to record how it's getting built of just that scan data. Again, I brought everything in, right, to save a little bit of time. But once we have this recorded, I'm going to stop this quick. I'm going to go back to the section tool. I'm going to turn this off. And now I can just replay this animation, right? Animation 2, do playback. So point clouds are able to be animated, right? And I think there's a lot of power in this as long as you break it down and recap and you segment it out to bring it in here. Otherwise, it's going to do the whole point cloud all at once. But again, I could have had just the floor. I could have had just the exterior walls. I could have had just the steel going up, right? You're showing that intent to the client from conceptual design or from an existing standpoint without putting much effort into this at all. Let alone at any time, your actual Revit model or your design can also go in here just using the shell of this building. So just using the exterior walls of the point cloud and then use the animation for the Revit information as well. So kind of cool. Point clouds can be animated, which is nice. I want to show you that. The other idea is we can go in and we can bring in that Revit model. Or in this case, I just have an AutoCAD model, so I can make sure it shows well to everybody here. Again, break it down. So what do we want to take a look at? How do we want to look at it? Well, if I zoom in here, it's really difficult to see what I'm looking at. Oh, let's see. This is already taking me an hour. I get kind of bored. All I see is point clouds. What do I do with this data? Well, by breaking it down, what I mean is break down the point clouds. Break down the data as you bring in. So go up here and tell it to append another point cloud. Bring in just this first floor, second floor, third floor, interior, steel. As I bring this in now, get rid of the information you don't need. I don't need the exterior wall, so I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to hide this for a second. I click off of this, and now I'm looking at my model, and if I zoom in, I can see the second floor point cloud. Let me show you this a little bit quicker, or a little bit better. Right, there's the second floor point cloud. Again, I'm not using color. Let me bring this back real quick. There we go. So if you showed color, you would see the true colors in there. But I also want to point out you can change the appearance of the information. So I could go in here and change the override on the point cloud color. And again, the idea is the point cloud's great, but that's not what I'm showing here. I want to show the information, the design, or what's changing inside this point cloud. So what I can do now is go back, turn on the overall model, and we're going to concentrate on just the second floor. What do I want to concentrate on? Well, let's break it down and show just the steel. So from the steel, I can go in, invert my selection, and I can hide everything else. Don't want to hide the point cloud though, so we go back to the point cloud, second floor, and we turn this back on. I have control over everything that we want to show. Right? I also could break down the steel even farther if we wanted to. And you can see as this BIM model is put together, you have the steel for the first floor and the second floor. So I could turn each one of these off as well, but I don't think it's needed. So we can go in, and maybe we use the section tool again to do that. Let's see how I left this. Now I go in here and I just navigate this down. Right now I'm looking at that second floor. Look at that. I can see directly inside the second floor. If I go back to the second one here, alignment bottom, make sure that one's on. Zoom out real quick. I'm not sure what happened here. There it is. Let's bring it down. It's always a good idea to try and find the model. Oh, must be too far away. See if we can get lucky here and grab that. Ah, got it. Way out there. There we go. Much easier when you can see it. So now we can bring this part up, and it's going to clip all the information as well. And should have. Maybe I grabbed the wrong one, guys. Try this one more time. Why aren't you clipping for me? That's why we love these live presentations. That's clipping. We go to 2. There we go. I guess it's just visually off a little bit, but there's the idea. So we can tell this to clip it however we want to. Now if you want to do a 2D review, or you can leave it for 3D review, and you can link these sections too, so you move them up and down per floor, which is kind of cool. But now I can go in here and I can actually do a 3D inspection, and I can make sure when we scan that there was the model and there's a steel beam, and that it doesn't collide or have any type of clash detection visually, or we can run the clash detection as well. Inside here, anything that you want to review or mark, you can go to review, and you can add a tag just by clicking on this. And you can make comments. Verify column exists. Okay. We could verify clash detections. We can again go to a 2D view if we want to as well, and take a look at the information in 2D. We can pan and zoom all the way through here, and you can make sure the columns are still correct, placed in the right location. Maybe it was just an as-built plan that you did, and you just had to field verify that they actually even exist for your new design. Any of these, again, you go in, you go to review, and we just simply tag these. As you tag these, and you set these up for your review, they don't only make a review, but they actually create their own viewport for anybody to go back to. The idea and the goal of this is now I can send it to Navisworks Freedom, and share these markups with anybody on the design team. We can also go in here and take this a step farther, and you could put more eyes or attention on this as well. And at any time we can go back and view these comments as well. So if I want to go back and say we want to take a look at tag 3, I can see and review those comments. Now if I'm the project manager maybe or the subcontractor, I can also edit the comment, and I could say we need to resolve this, or this has been resolved, and I can even approve this and then send this back for the next person to go back and look at this, right? This is priceless in the construction field that we can verify, mark it up, and collaborate with design firms. And Navisworks Freedom is a download that's available to everyone as well. What else can we do? We can take a look maybe at piping. Or if you want to see more how I get here, basically I just go back and I have selection sets set up. So I can go back to say all, and I can turn everything back on if we want to. Or I can manually go in here and just break this down by layer or by floor if I want to look for exterior walls. And then I just create a selection set to group these. Once they're grouped, you can turn them on and off. And we can concentrate, just like I did on the steel, just on the plumbing, the sprinklers, the HVAC. We can run clash detection on the point cloud along with the rest of these. But I also want to show during the animation process, like we did earlier, you can go in and you can set a third person. When you set the third person, just make sure that you have a floor or a fake floor in here. The navigator, the avatar won't work directly on the floor, but you can walk directly on the floor, and the point clouds do stay in here, and you can animate this as well. Do you guys remember the restroom that I showed you earlier, that entrance? There it is, the exact same thing, modeled, and we're reviewing the point cloud data. At any time, if you wanted to animate that, it would be the exact same tools, and I can go back in and we could replay this. So whether it's piping or plumbing, whatever the intent is to verify, keep in mind you can bring in the data, you can break it down, we can review it, you can see how easy it is using the section boxes to analyze the data, to verify the information. And one other thing you might not have noticed, if you pan and zoom in here, mine looks very, very clean. If you go up, as soon as you open the program, just go up here to options. Make sure you go to file readers, set this for recap, and change this iteration to 1. Otherwise, what happens when you pan and zoom, you can get great big globs. They're 8 times the size, and that'll show up in your animations as well. So again, just go to options, file reader, change this to 1, and now it's going to be nice and clean. 2015 also provides enhancements. There's a conversion mode, so you can tell it to bring it in and do clash detection for each individual scan. You don't have to do one great big giant scan at once. We also talked about breaking it down to individual RCSs to do the clash just on the floor or the ceiling or just the steel. But these 3 options have been enhanced for 2015 to allow you to do better clash detection with the point cloud as well. The last thing I want to show you is using Navisworks. You can also go up here and you can publish the data. And once you hit OK, it actually publishes a point cloud as an NWD file. This file that you publish can actually be shared with Navisworks Freedom. Probably looking right at it. There we go. Navisworks Freedom. You can go and download this. It's available right now. You can actually collaborate with team members to open this information or this program. And then when you go to open, as long as you publish this as an NWD file, literally they can open it up. They can have the markups If you notice over here on the right, the markups and the saved viewports that I have are also there for them to go back and take a look at. So if I go back to piping, if I go back to the steel review in 2D, all the information that you saved before is going to be stored inside here for them. Again, the tabs are very similar. There's the home, there's the viewport. We have the review options to view any comments that were made, and we can also do our own measurements either from the point cloud or the objects on the site. If you would like more information on Autodesk Recap, please visit our recap page at autodesk.com/recap. For more information around construction solutions in general, you can visit our Building Tomorrow Today page at the URL you see on the screen. And lastly, you can find out all you need to know about Autodesk Construction Solutions by visiting autodesk.com/construction. Hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Thanks again for attending today's webinar, and have a great day.